It has been far too long, so here is part 2 of If I Were in Charge of the Marvel Movie Collection. Hello everyone, MMC Fan here. As always, before I get started, don't forget I am an Eaglemoss affiliate, so if you found my work useful over the last 5 years and would like to say thank you, please place your next Eaglemoss, Hero Collector, whatever you want to call them, webshop order by clicking the link in the description or on any of my social media platforms. I'll make a small commission and you can also save money on your items with the latest offer code, which I will put down below. Thank you very much. So, welcome back. It's been quite a while. Life has been hugely busy, but here are issues 21 through to 40 in my version of the Marvel Movie Collection, and as always, the only rule is I can't cover a Phase 3 film until Eaglemoss did, in order to keep the release timeframes realistic. Otherwise, the entire MCU is up for grabs. I've got some really cool choices in here, so let's get stuck in with part 2. So, at issue 21, it's the first repeat in my collection. Now, I'm not going to do, no repeats, because I think it's important that some of the more prominent characters, they have more than one iconic look, so repeats are inevitable. But the main difference here is I'm going to do less of them, and they're going to be more spread out, and they're going to be chosen in a way that would make people go, actually, no, yeah, I would really like that. So, issue 21, Iron Man Mark 1 from the first Iron Man film, an iconic suit. It has to be in the collection, and I've kept this the same as the one we got. Obviously, I've brought it much earlier. It made way more sense to get the first Iron Man suit towards the beginning rather than halfway through, and the only change I've made is I've changed the eye sockets. Rather than painting on Tony Stark's eyes, making it look like he's got his nose smushed up against the helmet, I have left them dark because, as you can see on the magazine cover and in the movie itself, you can't really see his eyes, so it looks a lot better like that, and this suit would come in at number 21. And at 22 we have Vision from Avengers Age of Ultron. I've made no changes here. This is one of the strongest figures in the collection, but I have moved it much earlier on. He was actually going to be a lot earlier on, but he got delayed for whatever reason. You know, original lists had him in kind of like the 17 kind of area, so I'm putting him quite early on because I think it's important to get these main Avenger characters out as soon as possible, so that you're not getting lots and lots of filler ones next to each other. And at number 23, it's a brand new figurine. We never got him in the main collection, which is a real shame. But in my version, at issue 23, it's Happy Hogan. I mean, he's in all of the Iron Man films. He's also in the Spider-Man films later down the line, Endgame as well. So he's an iconic MCU character, and he directed the first Iron Man, so it really feels right to have him in the collection, and quite early on as well. A real shame Eaglemoss didn't do him, but in my version, he follows Vision. He is number 23. And at 24 we have Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I haven't made a huge number of changes here. In fact, the only change I have made is just making the purple on his hammer actually purple, because on the figurine that Eaglemoss made, it was so half-hearted the way they put it on there. Most people probably didn't even notice, but there is the tiniest little bit of Infinity Stone purple on his hammer. I've made it a lot more prominent with this quick Photoshop edit. Otherwise, it's the same figurine. It was a great height, it's a great figure, and he, although maybe isn't the best written villain, he has one of those awesome looks that you just have to have in figurine form. But let's not forget the specials. We have a new one every 8 issues, and I'm sticking to that. I know Eaglemoss didn't, but I am sticking to it. So alongside the issue we just saw, we've also got special 3, which is Hulkbuster from Avengers Age of Ultron. I haven't changed anything here. I think it's an awesome figurine, and we were all really excited when it came out and really impressed by the size of it. But what I've done is I put Groot earlier on because I think Groot's a more important character. The Hulkbuster is the 3rd special in my collection. And at 25 we have Quicksilver. Just like Vision, he came a little bit later in the official collection, so in mine I'm bringing him forward so we can get these superpowered, these Avengers characters kind of spread out nicely every few issues to keep people interested. There was nothing wrong with this figurine. It was a good size, and the lightness was pretty decent. And I really like the dynamic pose. We often see a lot of people standing still, and he is actually running, which of course makes perfect sense for Quicksilver. So another Age of Ultron figurine coming in at number 25. And at 26, so I'm following this pattern again, so we've just had a superpowered person, so we now move into someone who is an iconic character but isn't necessarily superpowered, at least not in this film, which is Peggy Carter from Captain America the First Avenger, and she is issue 26. Again, she was later in the official collection, so I've brought her earlier. She's one from a Phase 1 film, so you want to have her quite early on to leave room for all the new films later down the line, which is what I found when I was designing this. So a great figurine, great likeness to Hayley Atwell, but that gets moved up to issue 26. And at issue 27 we have the best villain in the entire of the MCU, which is of course Malekith from Thor the Dark World. I mean, absolutely iconic, and that's why they brought him back so many times. The thing with Malekith, he is completely forgettable, but he does look cool. So he absolutely still had to be in my version of the collection, and he rounds out the Thor the Dark World kind of lineup really, really nicely. Eagle Moss did him very early on at issue 14, and I think that was a big mistake, because I think when you're, up against Iron Man, Captain America, Ant-Man, all these figurines like this, to just release a villain that people don't even really remember, let alone like, I think that was a bit weird, and I think a lot of people kind of dropped out quite early on because they started to receive secondary characters way too early. So in my version, Malekith comes a little bit later at issue 27, but he's still there, and I must admit the main reason he's still there is because the Curse figurine is awesome and definitely has to be included, and then it would be weird to include Malekith's right-hand man without Malekith himself. So here he is at issue 27. But of course that means if I've just had a bit of a dud character that looks cool, I can now have an awesome character immediately next to it, and that is issue 28, Black Panther from Captain America Civil War. I have changed nothing here, not even the numbering. It's a great figurine, and it was a great choice to make him the first character from Civil War to enter the collection, because he's new, he hadn't been seen before, and that pose right from the concept art is really, really good. So this marks the first new film character to enter my version of the collection. So Captain America Civil War has hit the ground running with Black Panther. And at issue 29 we have Iron Patriot from Iron Man 3. Again, it's a repeated character, but what I've done is I've pushed it later to keep that gap between the previous War Machine and this one even larger, so people don't get annoyed or too bored. This was an awesome suit. It didn't get used in the movie very much, but it was an awesome suit and an awesome figurine, and there's a great Don Cheadle likeness kind of crammed into that little space there. So it's still in my version of the collection, and I still think people would want to receive it, but I have moved it a little bit later. And quite similarly, coming in at issue 30, it's Agent Coulson from the Avengers. So he was originally issue 21, I believe, and that felt a little bit too early, but he is a fan favourite. He is a cult favourite character because of his appearances in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and obviously many of the Phase 1 films and the way he kind of glued them together. I haven't changed much on the figurine here, but what I have done is made him bigger on the base, because he looked like a child, like they really got the scale wrong with him. And it was annoying because the Yellow Jacket had just come out with the wrong scale as well, so I think that put people off too. So I've increased his scale on the base. At issue 31 we have Lady Sif from Thor the Dark World, an awesome character and an awesome figurine, but Eagle Moss just put her way too early in the original one. Issue 12 for a side, like a secondary, maybe even tertiary character, that felt a bit weird. So putting her at 31, that feels right, and it doesn't feel like it's annoying anyone, because at this stage in the collection these are the kind of characters we're receiving. So issue 31 is Lady Sif, and at issue 32 it's Doctor Strange. I've made no changes to his positioning in the collection, that's my rule. 32 was when Strange came out, that's where I can start including Doctor Strange characters, because that would have given Eagle Moss enough time to make them. And it's a brilliant figurine, it's the best figurine in the entire collection of the original official one, so it had to stay absolutely the same. The only change I've made is I've added the Sanctum Sanctorum window logo symbol, whatever you want to call it, onto the base, because the Doctor Strange figures, just like the Ant-Man ones, came with blank bases and they never really gave us a good reason as to why. So in my version I've put that logo on the base, and it just elevates the already astonishingly good figurine even higher. So best figurine, best likeness comes in at issue 32. I haven't moved it. But 8 issues have passed, so that means it's time for another special, and this time it's special 4, which is Ironmonger from the original Iron Man. I haven't changed the figurine. I've given him a conventional magazine. That's probably just my own OCD coming through, but the magazine they gave him was like some kind of weird Villains of the Iron Man trilogy mashup magazine that was probably done to get around some weird licensing thing, I don't know. But anyway, conventional magazine, it looks really cool, and I've brought him forward to 4 because he was the first major large villain of the MCU, so why were we making people wait until like 2/3 of the way through the collection to get him? Absolutely not. I've brought him earlier on. It's the perfect time to receive Ironmonger. So of course, if we've just had a really prominent Avenger figurine, the next one, it takes a step away from that. So it's issue 33, which is General Ross from the Incredible Hulk. the two kind of iconic things from the film are General Ross and Abomination. So those are the ones that I'm focusing on for my version of the collection. Obviously Hulk as well, but we've already had him from the Avengers, and there's not a huge amount of design changes, so there wouldn't be a reason to do him again. So the first regular figurine from Incredible Hulk is General Ross. But of course, I've got to acknowledge that that was just a guy in a suit. So what do? We follow him up with an Avenger. So Falcon is issue 34 in his Captain America Civil War suit. Haven't made any changes here apart from bringing him on earlier. Eagle Moss made people wait as far as issue 44 for him. But in my collection, I'm making people wait for some other characters. You've probably worked out who they are by now. So Falcon comes in at 34. And at issue 35, we have a Chitauri warrior from the Avengers. Now, this is a grunt figurine, and I don't want to do too many of them, but the Chitauri in particular are an alien race that just has so much to do with the MCU. They've appeared throughout it, so much that they had to be included eventually. But what I've done is I've moved it considerably later. So I think issue 22, 23 was kind of where it was originally. I've moved it a lot later, and we've just had Falcon as well. So the thing with the Chitauri in the original collection is you had Agent Coulson, and then you immediately had the Chitauri. And it was kind of like, well, these are both kind of like minor figurines from the Avengers. It felt a bit samey. So in my one, you've just had Falcon, so now we're having the Chitauri warrior. And at 36, we have Mordo from Doctor Strange. Again, the only change I've made here is including that symbol on the base, which I think just makes it look so much more well-rounded. And I've also brought it a bit earlier. So in the original collection, Doctor Strange came out, and then they just waited for quite some time before they did any more from the film. But I want to include so many Phase 3 characters that I think it's important to keep covering them as quickly as possible. So Mordo, the second most prominent figurine from Doctor Strange, comes in at number 36. And at 37, it's another new one, just like Happy Hogan. This guy, Obadiah Stane, I mean, he is an iconic Iron Man character, and he's just had his own Infinity Saga figurine from Hasbro. So that's the basis of this image, and he should have been in the collection. I know Ironmonger kind of counts as including him, but he really was iconic, and I can only assume it comes down to licensing and likenesses and things as to why Eagle Moss didn't touch him. But I think for a guy in a suit, he is an iconic guy in a suit, and I like that Hasbro included like the arc reactor and the suitcase and things, gave him some accessories, kind of livened him up a little bit, so I've left those in as well. But yeah, completely new figurine from the original Iron Man film at issue 37. And at issue 38 we have Volstagg, who's one of the Warriors 3, I don't need to tell you that, from the film Thor. Now, I'm not changing the Warriors 3, I'm keeping them looking exactly how they did, but Eagle Moss did a really bizarre thing with these. They brought one out, Volstagg, at 52, and then they brought Fandral out at 53, and then they made people wait a little bit and then brought Hogan out, and it just felt really haphazard and weird. So what I'm doing is I'm scattering them throughout the collection to keep people interested, to keep people collecting. So the first one of them, Volstagg, comes in at 38, much earlier, while we're still covering Phase 1 content, and then the other two will follow later down the line. And at issue 39 we have sort of a new figurine, sort of not. So Bruce Banner came out in the original collection from Age of Ultron in a lab coat, kind of clutching his glasses, and it was fine, it was okay, but it felt, I don't know, that wasn't really the iconic Bruce Banner look that I was hoping for. When I originally heard that Bruce Banner was coming, I assumed it would be from the Avengers in this iconic outfit he wears while he's in the lab. But no, they went down the white coat route, and it was kind of small and kind of bland. So what I've done is I've taken him from an earlier film, I've taken him from the Avengers, I've put him in that iconic outfit that he wears, and then I've given him Loki's scepter, and he's got his glasses open in his hand. And rounding off the figurines for this video, it's issue 40, which is Korath from Guardians of the Galaxy. Much like Ronan, I'm making people wait for some very important Guardians characters, so I'm bringing the Guardians ones forward. But actually, coincidentally, he was actually 40 in the original collection, so he hasn't actually changed at all, this one, so he's done very well. And because they come every 8 issues, there's also time to squeeze in another special, and this time it's Abomination from the Incredible Hulk. So what I've done is I've got the first 3, I've got your Hulk, your Groot and your Hulkbuster, they're the iconic ones, and now I'm going through the Phase 1 films and kind of putting in those larger villains, almost kind of in the order that they appeared in the MCU. So we've had Monger, now it's the turn of Abomination, which of course would go great with the General Ross figurine. This particular image comes from Luis Cantos, who does custom Marvel movie collection figurines. Please do go check him out. I'll pop a link down in the description because he does incredible work, and you can buy this figurine if you want to. So do get in contact with him if you want to actually see this particular one on your shelf. It's not just an edit, it actually exists. And there we have it for this instalment. So here's how all the new additions affect the lineup so far. Every Phase 1 film now has at least one figurine, with more to come as well. Phase 2 is looking nicely populated too, and then Civil War and Doctor Strange collections have started as I have kicked off my coverage of Phase 3. So what do you think? Do you prefer my version? Were you happy with the one we got? Did you agree with some of the upgrades I made? Sound off in the comments below, and I'll be back with the next 20 in a video very soon, including some big hitting characters that I've been saving up. You'll see why. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe right here on YouTube, and join the discussion in the Facebook group too. Keep on collecting.